Okay, hi to you two brilliant humans. I'm so excited to be in conversation with you both today.
Oh, lovely to see you, Yara. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you, Barbie, for having us speak on such important topics.
Well, I mean, I'm grateful because I've known you both and known the work that you've done for some years now. But for our Barbie audience just meeting us, I'd love if we could just dive in to the things you both are passionate about, and why this matters, us coming together.
So, first of all, hi, my name's Burr, and I am an activist and model and the founder of Girls Talk, which is a community-led organization advocating and concentrating on the mental health and well-being of girls and women all over the world. So it started through my own personal experiences of mental health, um, and this realization that community was a very big part of my recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said. And Mari, for anyone who's not familiar with your work and your brilliance, why don't you let them know?
Okay, so my name is Mari Kopney. I'm 13 years old. I'm from Flint, Michigan, and you may know me as Little Miss Flint, even though I'm not so little anymore. I am a clean water activist. I raise a whole bunch of money for Flint kids, and I have my very own water filter.
Amazing. Well, to finish it off, I'm Yara Shahidi, and I've been an advocate and socially engaged human for some time now, focusing a lot on the intersections of voting work and how we can bring our many passions together as a generation, as well as just being of support of the many grassroots organizations that I know. And I think moments like this are so important because even though it may seem surface level that we are working in different sectors or areas, so much of what we discuss and what we are passionate about intersects because we're talking about care for other humans and making spaces so that people can feel heard.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a few questions for both of y'all. So the first question I have is, please talk about your first role model and what being a female role model means to you.
I can start by saying some of my first role models were in my family. I'm really grateful to be raised by some really powerful women in my life. Not only my mama, who anyone who knows me knows her, but also my aunties who are in education. My cousin, she's one of the first Iranian female space tourists. And so I just have to start by sitting in gratitude for what I was raised with and the fact that I grew up in a household in which I was seeing women making impact in every area of my life and seeing how powerful their presence was. And so I'd have to say that that has everything to do with me walking into the world now and feeling like I can do anything I set my mind out to.
Yeah, and I would mirror that exactly. And I think
Mhm.
my mama as well in regards to her phenomenal work ethic. And I think, you know, I've grown up in privilege, but my mum has continuously shown me that we can do both. We can have children and we can have an amazing career. And she has set a great example for me and is definitely one of my biggest role models. My aunties and my grandma, and, you know, coming from both, coming from a mixed race background, I've been shown, the different possibilities, and that, I sit in gratitude for that as well in regards to the different experiences that I've been shown, and the differences in the fact they've all grown up differently. And my sister, for definite.
Well, that was nice hearing what your role models were. I would have to say that my role model would have to be Yara Shahidi. Yes, Yara, you are one of my biggest role models. You make me so inspired and you make me want to push more into just be better. All
Oh,
right.
thank you. I'm inspired by what you do.
All right. So the next question I have is, how would you recommend getting involved with causes you're passionate about?
Mhm. Well, I can say part of my being involved is really leaning into mentorship, and leaning into our community. So mentors are not only the people a generation above, but even within our own generation in our peer group. I'm inspired because I think not only are you two examples of just how incredibly active our peers are, but I think there's a whole network of folks that have passion points. And so I know that sometimes it can be intimidating to try and dive into a topic and know that you're not going to know everything, and not try and figure out what can you do that creates impact. And so I always turn. I think I turn to the left and right, and I look to the people around me to figure out how I can be involved. And I think a great example is even with so much youth activism that we saw this summer. A lot of what I did was being on the phone with my friends, being on the phone with people who are organizers, to just figure out how I could be of support. And never be ashamed for the fact that we can use our own passions and interests and gear that towards social justice. And I think that makes really special results.
I would have to say curiosity and listening. I think if I think back to when I started this journey, I've always, like you said in your introduction, I've always cared about something, and that has been, one of my, I suppose, biggest characteristics. I've always cared about mental health. So I think what I did is I leaned into that curiosity. And I would say to anyone who is looking for a passion, and I also know how impactful having passion was in my life, I think, caring about something bigger than myself. So I would lean into that curiosity. I would listen. I think sometimes we feel like we have to be at the forefront, we have to be the biggest voice, but I know that a lot of the work I've done is because I'm listening to that younger generation. I'm listening, like you said, Yara, to the left and to the right, and I'm bringing that into the work I do. So I would sit, and I also think sitting with yourself and being curious about what makes you you, I think that has been a very important part of my activism, is learning more and more what makes me happy, what I care about, who I am, without everything around me, without all the external things.
I agree with both of you. If you want to create change, jump in head first, even if it seems scary. Okay, so very next question. What can we do to encourage more girls to be the first in a field where they don't see themselves represented?
Well, I can say, I know as we are in 2021, it's crazy that we still have firsts. But what I know to be true, just from the young women in my life and the women that I get to see out in the world, is that we are so capable of anything that we set our mind to. And I always talk about it. It may seem like I'm being repetitive, but our support networks are essential. A part of being a first also doesn't mean that you have to do it alone. And so I think even if you are one person in your field, there are a network of your peers, of other women, to be of support to you. I turn to my family as a support network. I hope to be a part of many other people's support networks, but I think it is important to surround yourself with people who are helping you, because we know that there are going to be obstacles, but we also know they can be overcome.
Yeah, I think, to reiterate what Yara just said, I think it is mad that we are in 2020, 2021, sorry, there are still so many firsts. And I would say that to any parents watching, I think it's so important to change that narrative from a younger age. I think when I was growing up, I definitely leaned into my family circuit, and they were the ones that really showed me the possibilities. I think even thinking back to being a model, and even thinking that was a possibility. It wasn't the magazines I looked into. It wasn't what I saw outside of my household, and what was going on externally, because that wasn't showing me that was a possibility. I think that's obviously definitely changed. It was my family who told me and gave me the confidence in realizing that was a possibility. So this is more directed to families, I suppose, and parents, is I would change that narrative from an early age. I would investigate people who are doing amazing things and who aren't necessarily the first.
Adjoa, Mari, thank you both for this conversation. Mari, thank you for the questions, and Adjoa, thank you as always for the insight. And of course, we have to thank everyone sitting down to watch this together. It means the world to us.